Greetings, bloggers, vloggers, followers, and podders. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty, here at you with another edition of this week's vlog. If you have been following for a few weeks, we're in April of 2026. So we're in Autism Acceptance Awareness Month, whatever you call it, it is, whatever symbol you use, we're more than welcome to that too. Um, little bit about myself before we begin with the vlog and the podcast this week. My name's Dustin. I'm a middle-aged autistic man. I've been in living life in some sort of autistic way throughout my life with tendencies and such. I was diagnosed at the age of 13 in 1998, and I've been living autism ever since in some fashion. I've been living independently for over 7 years. I have a part-time job for over 16 years, and we're living life every day to the fullest, uh, being autistic and living through those challenges. And, I think that's what today, as we're in Autism Awareness Acceptance Month, we've been focusing more on the things about autism itself and some of the challenges, and not so much challenges, but how do things get better at, being an autistic person, when we don't find a lot of hope or well-being or understanding within ourselves, to get where we need to be in this world, as hard as it can be. It is indeed hard, and without a doubt, there are different parts for everyone that is hard. Sometimes people like to say, well, you have the easy autism, or autism's easy for you. Well, it brings the good things, but it's not always about the good things, the things that, the good things that people see. Sometimes what they don't see are the things that are, we don't talk about, or the things that were never really caught in the public eye, or really we didn't even see as autistic individuals ourselves until somebody else may have seen it, or may have seen that we were different from everyone else. For me, I think, when if you would just start to talk with me, maybe you wouldn't see it, but eventually people who know. And that's part of what it is. But even as I become more affluent with myself and take care of my mental health more, it's not even just the fact that I'm lazy. It's just how things have to be, and they're different from what the neurotypical population expects of us. And sometimes we do have to do things that the neurotypical population expects of us, and it can drain us, and it makes it hard for us to exist in a world that is often not made for our liking. And it can bring us down, and it can tire us out. Sometimes we have to sleep more. Sometimes we need more rest. We need more breaks. And I think, something about breaks too is, you know, it's not that, it's okay, take a break, but, it's scheduling those breaks in. You can put in that accommodation. You can put in that IEP or that accommodation. Okay, take a break. But I mean, honestly, if we don't always see, that we need to take a break, we may need prompted to do that. But sometimes it takes really listening to that. Sometimes it takes really understanding that. And sometimes we just have to schedule for ourselves, because if we don't, or we don't find the time to take that said break, it really sets us up for a really rough day. And I don't think people realize, it does take a lot for us as autistic people to indeed get through the day. And that can be in a myriad of places where someone falls in the spectrum, where there is a need for extra rest. And even more so on the weekends, there is a more need for extra sleep and extra rest. And I think for me, growing up through life, that wasn't always understood as well as it needed to be. And then as you transition into an independent life, even the once I did get my mental health in check, it took seeing that, hey, rest is a thing we're gonna have to do, whether we like it or not. It's something that we have to accept, we have to understand is a part of being in our life, a part of what we just have to do. And whether we like it or not, that's just how it is. It's like, everything else that I've had to learn what it has to be. And, it's not that sometimes we don't want the things that we have. We don't want to experience the shortfalls of what life is. And sometimes you have to see things, okay, well, I don't want the shortfalls that doing things that I need to do brings, but I also don't want the shortfalls of not doing what I need to do can bring and making life more challenging for me. Um, it's hard to see, it's hard to understand. And sometimes by seeing maybe a number or something that makes you understand that you're doing the right thing, makes you see that, it is worth the energy and even the rest that you put in. But it's learning, hey, this is autism. This is what it is. And, it wasn't always easy for me to get here. It was many, many challenges, many steps, many times my parents advocating for me, growing up and making sure that I was given opportunities that many didn't think I needed. Some had reservations about, so on and so forth. As hard as that can be to admit and see now, when people saw the behavior more than what they saw the ability, it really shined more on the behavior than it did the ability. And, people wanted to focus on the bad behavior so much, but they didn't see that there was potential. And when the potential came out and the behaviors waned, it did get better. Now, granted, behavior is basically essentially non-existent now. It's a long way to get there. It took me actually listening to what I had to do, what treatment I had to take, what listening to therapy, listening and doing and being more cognizant of taking care of myself more often and my needs. It's listening to the world around me. It's knowing how to conduct myself and be independent. And granted, I understand not everybody's going to get to that point on the spectrum because autism indeed is a spectrum. But I think when you're in those early throes of autism, like I was, and even before being diagnosed, not knowing why, there were things like school rejection, the behaviors that I was having in school, and nobody could really pinpoint them other than running alphabet soup of other diagnoses that were acronymic and that throwing pills that really didn't solve the problem. Or maybe just tone down the problem where I'd only eat a little bit of this or eat a little bit of that. But seeing, what really boiled out to be. And, thinking that people once were different, once were challenging, and, seeing two of the same people in a time of, I'd say, 26 years that live very similar but different lives. But for me, it's understanding that things got better once I went and went through the hard parts of my teenage years, and you know, went and got the many hospitalizations, the therapies, the residential treatment that nobody thought I should have, and my mom fought for it, and then I had a hard time accepting it and what came from that. But then, now seeing that all that hard work can pay off, and all that work does wonderful things, and it proves that it can do what it can do, and it brings great outcomes to the point where I indeed am thriving. And, instead of surviving, and, it's not just thinking, oh, well, he's going to have a lonely old life, or he's only going to do this or that his life. Or maybe, it's just, maybe I'm just satisfied doing what I do. And that's probably why, for example, I'm doing the things that I do because I love them, and why I've been doing them for so long and being existent in them for so long is because I thrive at doing them. They're part of me. They fall into my routine. They're things I'm good at. People see the good in what I can do, and they're just a part of what they are. And they are the skills and the talent sides of autism that we see, but yet working on the other side of the challenges of autism itself, and putting and supporting those needs, and working to find, ways to work around the challenges that are brought on by autism itself. And, being brought, understanding how to make the best of the world that I can make. And that it doesn't have to be, something that is challenging, and something that isn't going to work, or something that I'm not even, I guess, going to like. It's not being choosing to be miserable. It's not, it's learning how to work through the emotions that I experience and the challenges, and finding my way to thrive in this world, and be excellent at what I do, love myself for who I am, be with the people that I want to be with, and just be able to thrive in the world after many years and many challenges of not doing so. And it's been a long way to get to this point, I guess. But, and it's also, being proud of myself when other people call it out, and other people see the work that I do, and the challenges that I face to get there, and just the things, I think, yes, autism is countered as bad, and there are challenges that autistic people face every day. But since clumping it all in that one diagnosis, there's a wide array of things that we see, good and bad. And even where I fall in the spectrum is also, there are good and bad, and that's the reality. Even though a lot of those bad things were experienced when I was growing up, and but they were also learning experiences, and knowing that I wouldn't want the same thing to happen to somebody else, and we'd work through those challenges. I came from a dark era of autism. We were often shielded, and people didn't really know how to fix us, and we were called off for we were everything was working to fix us or find a way to fix the problem. And that we were someone who was had something wrong with us. And it was hard to see the challenges, and hard to see that we could do the things we wanted to do in appropriate ways, and that there was a way about doing things that if we found a way to do them and how to do them, then it would work for us. But I guess that's why I'm so much more tailored to being a person that has gone through it, and seeing that there has to be a balance more than anything, is because it was always pushed on me. And that's like the same with something as eye contact, where it can be hard for so many. But for me, because people had constantly thrown it at me in my face that, that was something that it just has to be. And it's been a long way, and now I know it's a part of what I do and a part of, how I exist in this world, no matter how hard it can be. So, my essential story here is that, even if autism seems a little bit hard today, try to find the silver lining, try to find the good in it, even though it may not, and even though there are challenges, no matter where we fall on the spectrum, there is that little bit of good or that little bit of something. But we all matter in this. We're all fighting our own fight. And just because what you always see can always be good in someone on a spectrum, it's not always that way. So there's good and bad to what we see and what we do, but we have to find, the balances in both. So that's where we are this week. And I want to thank you for listening. If you haven't already, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Tap that notification bell when the new vlogs come out every week. If you haven't already, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, X, Pinterest, TikTok at Dustin's Dynasty. I'm on the web. That address is www.dustinsdynastyusa.com. And lastly, everything, my podcasting platforms, my socials, my email sign up, my website is all on Linktree. That is Dustin's Dynasty under Linktree. Again, I want to thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. Remember, you matter. You are loved. You are enough. Have a good weekend, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.